No.
Since,
Not since I got that text.
strange.
Then I'll go get coffee. Ladies and gentlemen, we're just waiting on one commissioner, and we're going to give her 5 more minutes, so go back to just enjoying your company. We don't have too long of a moment of silence.
For City Commission to order. Will you please join me in the flag salute? Moving on to public input, I see Pete Mayos here. Would you please come lead us in a prayer?
Public input is in the form of a prayer, if you would join me, please. Lord our God, we ask your blessing this evening. We bring to you the needs of our community and ask your help in addressing them. We pray for this commission and all who serve in public office. May they make wise decisions which are always in the best interest of the common good. We pray especially for the most vulnerable in our community and those who find themselves in need. May your love protect us from all the dangers of weather and pandemic, and may your wisdom and peace be with us this evening. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pete.
Thanks, Pete.
You're welcome. Thanks for the opportunity.
Is there anyone else that would like to come forward and speak in public input? If so, please come up, state your name and address. Seeing none, closing the portion of the public input and move to consent agenda. On the consent agenda, we have item A, approval of June 22nd, 2021 City Commission meeting minutes. Item B, approval of the application submitted by Leroy Smith for a cereal malt beverage license for the annual celebration to honor the life of Brandon Smith, to be held at the Frisco Event Center, 210 East 4th Street, from 4 p.m. to 11 p.m. on Saturday, July 31st, 2021, and authorize the city clerk to issue the license. Item C, approval of application submitted by Mohammed Noor Sante for a 2021 cereal malt beverage license for Sakara, located at 1618 South Broadway, and authorize the city clerk to issue the license pending a satisfactory city inspection. Item D, approval of agreement number 63-21 between the Secretary of Transportation, Kansas Department of Transportation, and the City of Pittsburgh, Kansas, to participate in funding of a resurfacing mill and overlay project on Broadway Street, US 69B, 2nd Street to 5th Street, and 4th Street West 126 Pine to Broadway, as part of KDOT's State Fiscal Year 2022 City Connection League Program, based on a 90% state/10% local funding split, with the state share not to exceed $300,000. And if approved, authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute the agreement on behalf of the city. Item E, approval of application submitted by John and Terry Drenick for sewer service outside the corporate city limits to property located at 3505 South Rouse. Item F, approval of appropriation ordinance for the period ending July 13, 2021, subject to release of HUD expenditures when funds are received. Are there any items to be removed for discussion? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So move. Second.
Been moved and second. Roll call vote.
Fields?
Yes.
McNay?
Yes.
Monsell?
Yes.
O'Brien?
Yes.
Now we move to special presentation. Presentation of the city manager's submitted 2022 budget. City Manager Darren Hall and Director of Finance Larissa Bowman will present the city manager's submitted budget for 2022.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. All of you should have the submitted 2022 budget for your review. I wanted to go over the timeline of the budget with you on page 3. And tonight we are formally submitting the budget to you. And then on July 27th meeting, we will ask you to consider adopting the budget. And then we plan to hold our public hearing on August 24th and thereafter submitting to the county clerk for certification with the state. And with that, I will turn it over to Darren.
Thanks, Larissa, and thanks to your staff for everything you do to pull us together every year. I think it's the first year that you've done it completely on your own as finance director, and It includes the working day that we had on the Saturday, which is where we really put the foundation of this together. So if you'll bear with me, it usually works the best if I just read the budget submittal letter from me, and we'll have an opportunity for about a month. I think we adopted August 24th for questions anytime between now and then. But with that, Honorable Mayor and City Commission, I present the city's 2022 submitted budget for your consideration. This document was created with input from the commission and a focus on the Imagine Pittsburgh strategic plan, which outlines our city's needs in the areas of housing, economic development, infrastructure, public wellness, education, and communication. Additionally, we are always focused on the city commission goals of maintaining adequate reserves and effectively managing our debt. Together, our community has weathered the pandemic. As we compare how we faced other American cities, we should be comforted knowing what a resilient community we live in. Our local economy is strong and continues to grow. Although we adjust to tight labor markets, high materials prices, and extreme weather, we continue to thrive. In 2022, we will see the completion of 4th Street overpass, the improvement of East Quincy to Rouse, the final engineering for the new wastewater treatment plant, continued industrial expansion, and more new homes. Our partnerships with the business community, the Pittsburgh Area Chamber of Commerce, Pitt State University, and all of our educational institutions and healthcare providers serves as the foundation for our success. With respect to revenues, building the budget begins each year by projecting revenues, and we maintain a conservative approach. Jamie did a very good job of being conservative, and Larissa is not going too much over the line. We've been really fortunate, and I think she's shown us that the month that we had after Jamie left, when I was starting to freak out, going, oh my gosh, Jamie's always been here doing our budget. We're in a very good place. So I think we need to make sure that as the budget goes on, as 5-year forecasting and things like that continue to be developed, we understand the importance and the work that goes into it, because the budget's well over $60 million now. It's a significant undertaking. The city's 2021 net assessed valuation, which is used to support the 2022 budget, increased by 0.18% over the previous year. With stable valuation and no additional debt plan, the 2022 submitted budget does not recommend a property tax increase. Our sales tax revenue continues to grow as well. Sales tax collections were up 3.14% compared to 2019. For 2021, sales tax collections have continued this growth, excuse me. As a result, we budgeted a sales tax increase of just 2% for 2022. The city receives 1% of the gaming revenues from the operation of the Kansas Crossing Casino. In 2020, the city received approximately $268,000. This is 27% lower than the previous year due to the closure as a result of COVID-19. However, the 2022 submitted budget is projecting a return to pre-pandemic levels at $355,000. The 2022 submitted budget also includes a 3% increase in water and wastewater fees. This is necessary to build reserves for the upcoming construction of a new wastewater treatment plant. The current plant is over 50 years old and is inadequate to meet increased requirements for mainly nutrient removal and growth. A new plant is projected to meet our needs for the next 50 years. Its time has come. With regard to expenses, the labor costs represent a large portion of the city's expenses, as it is with most organizations. The number of city employees in the submitted 2022 budget remains at 292.9 positions. The submitted budget contains a 1% cost of living adjustment for full-time employees. As with other employers in the region, we continue to share the difficulty of finding staff to fill vacant positions. This is an ongoing problem. We have enhanced our recruiting and retention efforts to address this challenge. While the national trend is for employer-provided health insurance expenses to increase annually, the 2022 budget contains no increase in employer or employee contributions to the city health insurance plan for a 5th year in a row. One constant is that operating costs will continue to increase. Workers' compensation insurance, property and liability insurance, electricity, natural gas, and vehicle fuel are all expected to increase by approximately 3%. We will continue to look for ways to manage these increasing costs while preserving our service levels to the community. In conclusion, the 2022 submitted budget reflects the city's efforts to address our growth while controlling our costs. Pittsburgh's economy is strong, and as a result, we will continue to invest in our workforce, infrastructure, and businesses. The submitted budget provides a service level which will continue to improve the quality of life for all of our residents. We expect to emerge from the pandemic stronger than ever and make Pittsburgh an attractive place for everyone to call home. The following detailed budget is presented for your consideration. We will make ourselves available, obviously, over the next month. And once again, I want to make sure that you guys understand how much we appreciate the time you put into it to get us to this point, so you're not seeing it for the first time. You should be familiar with most of the items in here, and we appreciate the commitment you've made to giving us the time to explain the items and make sure that our recommendations are solid. Thank you.
Darren, I have one point.
Yes, sir.
To make. You noted that we have no increase in employer or employee contributions for the 15th year in a row.
Excuse me.
I go back to revenues, and how long has it been since we've increased property taxes?
I believe,
Couple of years.
it's been at least 2 years, and I think we've only done it 2 times since I've been here, so
That's 2 times in how many years?
9 if I
9
finish this year out.
And I think that's important to point out.
No, it's property tax is one of those taxes that every community, for the most part, has, and we can all compare and see how we're doing, and it funds a lot of our services, but we've been very fortunate with your leadership and the staff making sure that they're frugal to only spend really what we bring in, and we've been fortunate with the sales tax that the economy's been strong, so we've been able to kind of live on the growth of the sales tax, but yeah, it's.
Thank you.
You bet.
I have a comment, Darren.
Yes, sir.
The sentence that says, as a result, we budgeted a sales tax increase of 2%. That's not saying sales tax is going up 2%.
Great question, or great point. That's saying that
It's telling what that
the
means.
revenues that we are generating through the sales tax, we are estimating that they will come in 2% higher than we currently collect, which will allow us to do what you just said, provide services without increasing the property tax.
Good point.
Yep, great point.
All right,
Anyway,
thank you, guys.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank
We
you.
will have this up on the site tomorrow, so people in the public can start reviewing it.
You may want to explain that one a little bit more, if is it possible to. That
Explain.
last- It might be better if you could explain that last sentence a little bit to them, that it's
Okay.
not I mean, if you
Yep.
can do that without changing too much.
Yep, sounds good. Thank you.
All right. Consider the following. Item A, request to change zoning. Consider the recommendation of the Planning Commission / Board of Zoning Appeals to approve the request submitted by Community Health Center of Southeast Kansas to change the zoning of the 2 vacant parcels located directly west of 605 East 29th Street from R-1C Single Family Residential District and RP-3 Planned Medium Density District to CP-0 Planned Commercial Office District to allow for the extension of a medical education facility property.
We're not Quentin.
Should, I'm gonna,
sure, yeah, unmute him.
Quentin, are you there?
I am here.
All right, good.
We're gonna blame it all on him. You have that.
While they're getting all their ducks in a row, I just want to make a statement for transparency, and that is, I am a board member of Community Health. However, I receive no financial compensation, so I intend to vote on this.
And I am an employee of Community Health and do receive a paycheck. So I will not be voting on this agenda item.
Thanks for that. guys.
Okay, we're here to answer any questions you have tonight about the change of zoning for this location. This property is located at the end of 29th Street, which is on the south side of the community health and their new education building expansion. And I'm happy to change. The three of us would be happy to answer any questions you have tonight.
Yeah, the planning commission approved it unanimously, and there was no, what I say,
No community,
I'm sorry.
no community hesitation.
Yeah, no
nobody-
community opposition to the
Okay, that's good.
rezoning.
Is there any plans to open that street on up through to Joplin? Ever?
Yes,
There's any
actually we had.
thoughts
yes.
down the road?
Yes, so if you look farther to the south, Grand Street
Yeah.
has some easement acquisition and some non-easement acquisition, but we have talked with Community Health to potentially, in the long term, look at, seeing if you could extend Grand to the north to tie into 30th Street to make that extension for future.
Yeah, it looked like it'd be a lot better if you could.
Yeah, so we've had those discussions and what
Okay.
has to happen with some of this property and potential right of way for that in the long term.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
When's construction going to start?
They're
at this
turning
approval?
dirt right now on
Are they?
the education facility.
All right.
They're building,
They've been doing that for, what have you been doing that, 2 weeks now?
2 weeks.
Yep, so they're moving.
Good deal. I have no further questions. If there's a motion to approve this request for changing the zoning,
So moved.
a second, go ahead. All right. So, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor for approval, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, guys. Item B, vacation request. Consider the recommendation of the Planning Commission / Board of Zoning Appeals to approve the request submitted by Countryside's Self-Storage LLC to vacate the east portion of the alley located between the 200 blocks of East Rose and East First Street.
So you know, Commissioners, I will just identify this area, Rose Street, First Street, Countryside, Storage. What we're asking, what the planning and zoning, ask was to vacate this portion behind these homes here, not this north-south. Obviously you can see that this section through here has been vacated. The northern side was vacated. I'm not sure the years, Quentin will have to answer that question. You do see that we have a sewer line running north-south through there, but so this is the section that was discussed.
Quentin, do you have anything to add?
Well, yeah, I'm watching it on YouTube, so it's a little bit delayed, but we're watching the east-west portion of the alleyway there. Correct, not the utility easement.
And the storage company is going to be using this property?
Mr. Fraser, I believe, is in the crowd.
I'm
Yes.
sorry?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
And does the city get compensated for any of this?
No,
We
but we
just
are
give-
willing to take
No.
donations.
We just give it to them?
yeah, when it's vacated, it is simply given half to each property owner, mainly because originally they gave it to the city. In any kind of subdivision, we don't pay for right-of-way. In any kind of subdivision, they donate that to the city as right-of-way. And so when you vacate it, it goes back to the landowner the same way.
There was a concern brought up that the houses would not have access to maybe sheds behind their house. Could you address that? It looks like there's access from the other street.
There is access from Elm Street
Elm.
for the house and then southeast corner. And then there is street access and a drive off of Rose Street for the middle house and the house to the west.
Any further questions?
None.
I look for a motion to approve this vacation request.
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and second to approve. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Item C, Sugar Creek Packing Company, First Amendment to Option Agreement for the purchase of real estate. Consider staff recommendation to enter into a first amendment to option agreement for the purchase of real estate with Sugar Creek Packing Company, in which Sugar Creek Packing Company will purchase a tract of land located in the 500 block of South 210th Street, containing 35.010 acres in a total price of amount of $177,375.
Mayor, Commissioners, so in September of 2017, we entered into an option agreement with Sugar Creek for this land that we're being specific about, in addition to 23 acres just to the north. It was one contiguous option. At this point, they're only interested in this 35 acres. So we are entertaining the offer from them to purchase it. We had it appraised. It comes out to just about $5,066 an acre. Right now, it's controlled by the city. We use it for agricultural purposes, but in the future, it would still be under the guidelines of the FAA since it's on airport property, or it's near airport property. But yeah, it's a recommendation that we're comfortable with, and Sugar Creek's been good to work with for this, and I think they just are continuing to expand their operation, and this is one of the things that's been on their long-term plan, clear back to 17 when they originally optioned for the land.
I have a couple questions about that, Darren. On that option agreement in 17 to purchase this real estate, was there a timeline that they had to decide to buy this by, or?
They had a 5-year agreement. Basically, they had the 1-year option and then 1 year, 5 1-year options with that, where either party could walk away from it if they wanted to.
All right, and what is that? My questions is, which I was called the other day, and I know the first I heard of it, I don't know if you knew, about a news article about a new development going in there. So my question is, we're just here tonight to approve the sale of the property. We haven't discussed with Sugar Creek with any housing development. Am I correct?
Yeah, no, I mean, we've just are simply selling them the property. I think some of the original information they had was about putting in a parking lot. I think on the news the other day, they said something about housing. I've heard other industrial uses for it, but we're not privy to any more information than that.
Right, so just tonight, we're just approving the sale of this property, and whatever they might want to do with residential development, that will come at a later time.
Absolutely.
Right, correct. Are there any other questions?
I move to approve.
Second.
It's been moved and second. All in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item D. Now, you're there now, aren't you, Quentin?
I'm here.
All right. Kobe 2021 LLC Real Estate Contract. Consider staff recommendation to enter into a real estate contract with Kobe 2021 LLC, in which Kobe 2021 LLC will purchase the 5 vacant tracts of land that cover 1.76 acres at the southwest corner of 4th and Rouse in a total purchase amount of $300,000.
Yeah, so this property is being considered for sale to Colby, 2021 LLC for the build out of the Dollar General store. That's on the corner of 4th and Rouse, for those that are not familiar. The purchase price is $300,000. If you're looking at that contract, it's $309,000, but that is to cover their portion of the closing costs. So, any questions about the property?
Any question for Quentin?
Help me understand, when they get ready to build, what is our input on egress and?
So, Hey, IT guys, can you flip the screen? I've got
We're
a map
looking at the
on it.
wrong, we're looking at a different piece of land right
Yeah,
now. It'll be more clear.
Here we go.
There we go.
Okay, all right. So at Fourth and Rouse, obviously sitting in the southwest corner of that, the intersection taper line for the turn lane dictates there's an existing drive to that property right now. They will not be able to get any closer to Fourth and Rouse than they can today. So they're gonna have to utilize that and build that approach off to the south is what's governing that. There will be no entrance off of Fourth Street, and that's because it's KDOT on Fourth Street and part of that improvement at that intersection. Other than that, we've got some language inside of there about the site development and some of the setback, and we've worked with, prior to the sale, we've had those discussions with their team as well about setting this project up to fit in there. We have sanitary sewer on the west side of this property and the 12-inch water lines on their side, so they're in good shape that way.
I guess my concern is if the trucks are going south and they're gonna turn to the west to unload, will they clear Fourth and Rouse before they have to turn?
Yes, they should have plenty of, they're far enough away from the intersection and they've opened up the throat of their driveway. And if you look, as they come back in, they've opened up this throat as well to make that turn to back in to unload. So, they've made some accommodations for semi turns in that regard.
What about sidewalks?
Yes, there is, the sidewalk currently goes through there and they'll have that still incorporated in that part of the project.
Are we suggesting any vegetation, or is it just gonna be?
We're having some of those discussions as it gets laid out, but it is all in the agreement to, this isn't the final site plan, this is more of a conceptual, what we're bringing tonight is part of what it looks like and fits into that site.
Well, I noticed that Walmart, neighborhood Walmart, we put into that.
We've brought that up to them,
Okay.
some consideration of
Okay.
what that looks like.
Great. Keep it up.
Any other questions?
If there's no other questions, I move approval.
Been moved, is there a second? I second it. Moved and second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Quentin. Item E, Chanel Properties LLC, purchase agreement. Consider the recommendation of the Economic Development Advisory Committee to enter into a real estate purchase agreement with Chanel Properties LLC, in which Chanel Properties LLC will purchase 40 acres partial in the city's airport industrial park as part of an evolving economic development project at the price of $5,000 per acre, with Chanel Properties LLC providing $35,000 in earnest money and allowed 120 days to exercise the right to purchase the property with 2 60-day extensions available.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the commission. As you mentioned, this would be a purchase agreement between Scannell Properties and the city of Pittsburgh. Scannell represents a business that is interested in a presence in our community. They have narrowed their site preference down to 2 different sites. This one at the Airport Industrial Park and another piece of property that's not owned by the city. Speed is very important to this particular prospect, so what they have asked to do is enter into purchase agreements on both parcels of the property, allow them to go ahead and do their due diligence on both sites. That way, if something were to fall through on one of them, they've got the other as a backup. So the purchase agreement has an out clause that if the property is not needed, then the sale wouldn't officially close. But the 40 acres in the Airport Industrial Park would either be the blue or the red shaded box. We haven't gotten quite to the point where Scannell would identify exactly where their prospect would like to go. But the purchase agreement would allow them to go ahead and begin exploring those 2 parcels right there As you mentioned, Mr. Mayor, they would put $35,000 in an escrow account. They would then have 120 days to decide whether to execute the property purchase. The purchase agreement also allows for 2 60-day extensions, upon each of which they would inject another $10,000 to the city. If the sale does not close, that money would be refunded to Skinnell Properties, but this again allows them to meet their timelines, sets aside that piece of property so that if it is needed for this prospect, it is available to them. So with that, be happy to answer any questions that any of you may have.
Mine's probably for Matt. What's the status of the infrastructure of those properties? Would there have to be a lot of work, not knowing?
So, right now, the 12-inch water line extends down in the front of the property along 200th or Lone Star Road, however you want to call it. So there's plenty of water resources there. With the expansion of the APAC stages, there's your hand. So right in this little area right in here, we put in a lift station for Apex Stages as part of partnering with their project. We oversized that station and the line going underneath the end of the runway there that comes back into our gravity main, and so they would have to extend. There would have to be some level of sanitary sewer extension to the north to capture that, but we've got some preliminary layouts and some ideas around that. But yeah, it's been considered. So.
What about the road?
So Lone Star itself is a 22-foot road. Atkinson is a 24. 24 is obviously more preferred and goes out. The county went in as a part of a grant 2 years ago and opened up all the vegetation, cleared out the trees, regraded the ditch lines in through there all the way up to Gooding Road in that 2-mile section. There'd probably be a request for some shoulder work or additional shoulder through there. Potentially, I think the speed limit right through there is all 45 at the moment. We may have some discussion with the county. There may need to be a little bit of a speed decrease through there, just depending on what and how much happens. So there's some consideration for that too, as well.
This $35,000 in earnest money, they get that back if they decide not to take this property?
That's correct, yes, sir.
And the 60-day extensions, if required, they pay another additional $10,000.
Another $10,000, yes, sir. They've got 2 of those embedded in here, 2 60-day extensions. If they exercise one or both of them, they would provide another $10,000 for each one of those extensions.
Thank you.
Yes.
Any further questions? A motion to approve.
So move.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
And Mr. Mayor, I'd be remiss if I didn't say that, like with any other economic development project on which we work, this has been a team effort. Darren and Matt and Jay and the entire city team have been very responsive, very reactive. Our goal has been to get back to the prospect within 24 hours with any request that they have, and I know it's appreciated by the prospect. So I appreciate everybody on the city team.
Thank you. Thank you, guys, for all the work you did. All right. Item F, Pittsburgh Area Chamber of Commerce Welcome/Business Center Project. Consider the recommendation of Economic Development Advisory Committee to participate in the Pittsburgh Area Chamber of Commerce Welcome/Business Center Project to be located at 117 West 4th Street with an injection of 10% of the total project value, with the city's portions not to exceed $25,000. Blake.
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor, and I've had the opportunity to stand here over the last 8 years and bring you a lot of different projects that were beneficial to our community, and I'm especially proud to stand before you tonight to bring you a project on behalf of the Chamber, something that we're very excited about and ready for the community to get more information on this.
Before you get, just to keep it less than awkward, why don't you just describe the project and then I'll summarize the request? Just to.
Okay.
just to keep your hands clean.
Okay, absolutely. Well, this is a project that will not only provide better utilization of our space, but will also be a better representation of our facility. We feel like with our program of work and our staff and our marketing materials, all those have really been shored up. We feel like the weak link now, Mr. Mayor, is our facility. And so it's very visible, obviously right next to City Hall. You all drove by it on the way in this morning, or this evening. It's still functional, but it certainly is not very appealing. The last time was about 30 years ago when we covered up that brick with the paint. It just looks tired, it looks drab. We got a little splash of color with the mural there that Jenna Spencer did for us a few years ago. But it still is not terribly inviting, or we don't feel like, especially with the other projects that have gone on in the downtown area, the Law Enforcement Center, City Hall, Block 22, we don't feel like our building accurately reflects the image that we want Pittsburgh to have. And obviously from, that's the view from 4th Street. You can see there that most of that wall is closed up. And again, if you come down to downtown Pittsburgh to have dinner at one of our restaurants at night especially, it just looks dark. It doesn't look very inviting, and we're ready to change that. So with your help, Mr. Mayor, this is what we envision for our facility by the early fall time frame. You can see that we are proposing to remove all that old dull drab paint off of the brick, extend the glass in the windows all the way along Broadway to actually go around the corner on Pine Street. So again, much more inviting for not only the locals, but the economic development prospects and the visitors and tourists that come through our building. The lobby is not currently very functional, so we're going to open all that up. The left side of the screen there would serve as our Tourist Information Center from the Crawford County CVB. Even though our website gets around 1.4 million hits on our business directory, we still have a lot of people that still walk in, they want to talk to somebody face to face, they want to get a paper map, they want other paper materials, and so all that information will be on the left side of the room there. On the right side will be a waiting area for those that are coming to meet with a member of our professional team. On the far end over there where the United Way office currently is will be a public restroom. We feel like that will be well utilized by the public as well, and the CVB will also be able to coordinate some limited weekend hours, especially when there are larger events that bring a lot of visitors to our community, and we may have more people in the downtown area. Probably what I'm the most excited about is the business center. This will be full of the latest technology to help our local businesses take advantage of the virtual meeting format that became so popular during COVID. Where a lot of businesses struggle right now, Mr. Mayor, is the hybrid meeting where you have 3 or 4 people in person, but you have other people joining virtually. I was at a larger business not long ago for one of those kinds of meetings, and they literally just turned a laptop around, and that was their solution to it. There's technology now that will allow us to have 2 of those TVs there, so you'll be able to see your presentation on one, those joining virtually on the other. We'll invest in microphones that will make sure those joining virtually will be able to hear all the conversation that's happening. And this will be available to every business in town. Chamber member, non-chamber member, we want businesses using this. If we go to all this trouble and expense and no one uses it, we're just not going to let that happen. So obviously something we're very excited about. Just a few of the highlights there. Obviously would offer a welcoming, progressive first impression for all newcomers to our community. I mentioned those conference room improvements that will be available to all of our local businesses. With the improvements to the lobby and the public restroom, it would be designated an official tourist information center by the state of Kansas, and that will result in more marketing on the state level, which we know will increase the number of visitors that come to our community. And with the growth of the CVB and travel and tourism becoming an even bigger part of our local economy, Devin and Chris are almost at a point where they need more staff space. This will allow us to accommodate them in our building, which to have tourism, economic development, chamber services all under one roof really does seem to fit us well, because any business person that walks through the door, we're able to help them. the cost. It's not going to be inexpensive. These are the costs that we are projecting. We feel like it will come in at about $254,000 with that 20% overage that we will build in. Hopefully that won't be needed, but it could top $300,000. But again, it's an investment that we feel like is needed and will be well received by the community. And to use a Jay Byers term, the funding stack, this is how we would propose to pay for it. The chamber will provide a little over $250,000. We've already raised $70,000 from private donors that want to be a part of the project, and just some small miscellaneous sponsorships will contribute another $5,000. So what we're here tonight to request is $25,000 on the back end of the project, similar to other projects in the past, where we would provide verification of the expenses that we were out, and then would be reimbursed, and 25% represents a little less than 10% of the total project value. So ran through that fairly fast, and with that, I'll turn it over to Darren.
Well, I think Blake just made his own request, so.
Oh, sorry.
Basically, yeah, the EDAC was completely behind this. It's the 25,000 is the traditional 10% that they do for a project based on that budget, and it seems like that's the kind of money that will stay in the community with the facility, whatever happens, so, just want to make sure Blake felt, but yeah, great job, Blake. Hey, no, you've given it so many times, I figured you were gonna run right through it, but I didn't want you to not have an out. Anyway, it's a great project, and they were completely behind it, so.
So with all the improvements, it looks great, Blake. And my question is, what about the roof? What kind of shape's the roof in it? Would that need to be addressed at this time? Or?
We had a major roof repair about 3 or 4 years ago. If you would have asked me this week, I would have told you it was good to go. With all the rain that we had last week, we had a little bit of a leak. So we're working with Tri-State and SEK Heat and Air, because it's more of a deal where a new air conditioning unit on the roof, some water is getting in between the air conditioning unit. So it's really not a roof issue. It's just it's Tri-State working with SEK Heat and Air to make sure the roof and the air conditioning unit are sealed up. But otherwise, the roof is in good shape.
Good deal, good deal.
I think, this is very timely. We have the communication pillar for IP, and we have, private funds that are going to be dedicated to telling our story and highlighting our community, and I think this will just help that in terms of the visibility and the usage, so.
I would agree.
I'm surprised that you said that that building was renovated as many years ago as it was. I was maybe around when that happened. But that's certainly going to bring it into a look that is advantageous to the rest of the downtown development.
Certainly, we agree. We don't want to be the ugly ducklings on the
No.
block. Yeah.
Well, you're far from that on the block. There's other challenges.
What's the state designation of as an official tourist information center do for you?
That's a good question. As you've been in other communities and you see the brown tourist information center signs off the bypass or the interstate, directing people to a tourist information center, the state has guidelines because they don't want just anybody calling themselves a tourist information center and then they're only open 2 hours on a Wednesday afternoon, and they don't have a public restroom, and they don't. So the parameters are, you have to have a public restroom, you have to have it at least some weekend hours. There are these different requirements that we will now be able to check all those boxes, and I know Devin is really excited about our facility being added to that, because then the state adds that to their website, and it can make a difference when families especially are planning a trip across the state. They will know that if they are going to an official tourist information center, that they will have a certain set of expectations to include that public restroom.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions for Blake? Having none, which I want to say again how great that looks, Blake.
Well, thank
and
you.
I want to make a motion for approval.
I second.
Then a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Blake.
Thank you.
Non-agenda reports and requests. A bi-monthly budget review. Director of Finance Larissa Bowman will provide the June 30th, 2021 bi-monthly budget review.
Thank you, Mayor. Hello again. I'm here tonight to give an update on the city finances as of June 30th. We're halfway through the year, and we have received 3 of the 5 tax distributions. The last 2 are pretty small, so we've got 88% of the budget already sent from the county. So at this point, our funds are looking really healthy. We're right on track for hitting our targets. We started the year out with almost 18.5 million in the bank, and we're showing almost 24.2 million at the end of June. As I've said before, I expect that to go down throughout the year as we have more projects come up. So sales tax, again, is up 14.3% compared to this time last year. We've had some record collections in the last couple of months, and I know speaking with Blake, he's talked about the tourism is also seeing those high numbers with records. So the economy is doing really well, and we're right on track for this time of the year. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Any questions for Larissa?
That 14% increase in sales tax
That's
is
nuts.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
That puts a smile on
That's
everybody's
terrific.
face, doesn't it?
I feel like I should put a disclaimer on it, but
All right, well, thank you, Larissa.
thank you, appreciate it.
Are there any other non-agenda reports and requests? Nope.
Just because you approved it tonight for the contract for the C-Clip project on Broadway, just so you know, we got our authorization to advertise this afternoon from the state, so that will go in the paper. It'll be on the street for 30 days before we'll take bids on it, so we'll have the bids coming in and hopefully notice to proceed somewhere around the 1st of September. And the actual mill and overlay of that project, since we're kind of running out of year and time, will probably happen the first part of spring of next year possibly. We'll see what the bids come in, because we have increased the amount of subsurface work that has to be done with that project. But it is hot off the press. You authorized the contract tonight, and it's on the street, so.
All right.
Just so you know.
Good deal. Thanks, Matt.
Does that mean you were taking us for granted?
No, I was waiting on the state too, but I appreciate your efforts tonight.
Are there any other non-reports and requests?
I don't know if, in terms of COVID, hopefully you had an opportunity to see Dr. Stebbins' press conference today. If not, you can go to the PSU site. No surprise, numbers are increasing. Crawford County's had 5 deaths over the last 10 days.
With no vaccination?
With no vaccine or just one. So the message from our healthcare providers are please get the vaccine. It's available at pharmacies, urgent care, community health, health departments. So, and I think all of the, as we know, all of the viruses have been the Delta. So, and they're younger people.
And I might just say one thing, this virus does not have a political name to it. It's a virus for all of us, and it affects all of us, and we need to remember that when we think about getting our vaccination.
Do we have numbers, Dawn, on how many people in Crawford County have been vaccinated? I don't know, one time, there
I
was some
think,
numbers.
right. What I heard recently is probably at least one shot. We're at about 40%. So we're doing fairly well, excuse me, in terms of vaccine, but basically everyone who wants a vaccine has gotten it. So it's convincing those that are hesitant and reaching them where they are in terms of, providing information and encouragement, so.
All right, thank you, Dawn.
Uh-huh.
Anything else? Is there a motion to adjourn?
You bet. I mean, yes.
Second.
Been a motion, is there a second?
Second.
There's been a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. We are adjourned.